After 20 long years in another world, our hero has finally returned to Earth. The first thing on his mind? A nice, long, hot shower. He savors the simple luxuries he missed so dearly. The bliss of modern technology, like an air conditioner, feels like a miracle. Looking out at the sprawling city, he feels an overwhelming sense of relief. He's finally home, ready to start a normal life. But just as he's about to relax, a horrifying figure with a wide grin sticks his face to the glass window. The peaceful homecoming he dreamed of is shattered in an instant, replaced by a cold sweat and lingering fear. Suddenly, an emergency broadcast cuts through the silence, announcing that something called an erosion zone has appeared in the complex. He's utterly bewildered. What on earth is an erosion zone? Before he can process it, multiple shadow looms over him. His blood runs cold as he sees the windows swarming with grotesque, masked creatures, their grins promising nothing but chaos. With a deafening crash, their sharp claws shatter the glass, and the monsters begin to pour into his apartment. There's no time to think. He bolts out the door and into the dark, cold stairwell. Adrenaline pumping, he barrels down the stairs, the creatures shrieks hot on his heels. His only thought is to escape, to put as much distance as possible between himself and these new horrors. But the monsters are relentless, a terrifying horde swarming up the stairs right behind him. Spotting a broken window, he dives and hangs onto it, fooling the monsters. As the horde leaves, he jumps right back in. He moves to another section of the building, barely shaking off the pursuing monsters and catching his breath. Just as he thinks he's safe, he spots a small child running nearby, seemingly unfazed by the chaos. Worried for the boy's safety, he tries to warn him to get to the shelter immediately. But the boy, with a stick in hand, just asks if he's seen where the monster went, a strange fire in his eyes. To our hero's utter shock, the boy declares with chilling confidence that he's going to kill it. Completely dumbfounded, our hero can only stare. What kind of world did he return to where children hunt monsters? Unable to leave the reckless kid alone, he finds himself reluctantly teaming up with this strange, fearless boy. The kid, whose name is Yun-sung, begins to bring him up to speed on the last 13 years he's missed. He learns that these erosion zones are basically monster portals that can appear anywhere at any time. The realization hits him like a ton of bricks. He escaped one living hell only to be thrown into another. He silently curses the goddess responsible for his fate. The boy is curious why this newcomer seems so clueless about the state of the world. Our hero tells him that he was living in America for a bit. Yoon-seong casually drops some world news, like the US president being impeached for trying to secretly send his daughter to the relative safety of Korea. The kid then starts gushing about his favorite hunter, a woman named Lee Se-eun from the Janabi Guild. Our hero is shown an image of this hunter, a warrior with a greatsword, standing against a colossal beast. He can't wrap his head around it. How are ordinary humans fighting monsters on a scale he only saw in a world of magic and swords? His veteran instincts kick in as he ponders this new, twisted reality. Suddenly, he clamps a hand over the chattering boy's mouth, silencing him instantly. He sensed them. They're not alone. Peeking around the corner, his eyes narrow with focus. A new pack of the masked creatures has found them, their creepy smiles sending shivers down the spine. His sharp eyes scan the area, quickly assessing the threat. He counts 5. No, 6 of them. One hiding in the shadows. He stands protectively in front of Yoon-seong, his mind racing to formulate a plan. The boy's earlier bravado completely vanishes, replaced by tears of pure terror. As he prepares for a fight, our hero feels a familiar energy swirling around him. A faint blue aura begins to glow. He can't believe it. It's mana. The very essence of power from the other world exists here on Earth. A flicker of memory reminds him of the overwhelming power he once wielded. One of the monsters spots them and lunges forward, its grin widening in anticipation of the kill. But our hero simply points a finger, channeling the atmospheric mana with practiced ease. Though his 20 years of accumulated mana are gone, he can still tap into the power engraved into his very soul. A confident smirk spreads across his face. The firepower might be lacking, but for these small fry, it's more than enough. The charging monster is instantly consumed by a vortex of otherworldly black flames. Yoon-seong's fear turns to pure, unadulterated awe. His eyes sparkle as he witnesses this incredible display of power. Remembering a tip from a hunter YouTube video about confirmation kills, the kid foolishly rushes towards the smoldering corpse. Our hero yells for him to stop, his eyes wide with panic. The kid has no idea what he's dealing with. Just as he predicted, the monster, not quite dead, bursts from the embers and lunges at the boy. But our hero is already there, grabbing the beast by the head. His paradox black flame has a special property. It doesn't extinguish until its target is completely obliterated. He gives the kid a stern lecture, telling him he doesn't know what YouTube is, but he needs to stop watching it immediately. The boy, thoroughly shaken, can only stare as our hero calmly stands between him and the reignited monster. Without a proper weapon, he asks to borrow the boy's stick. It's not much, but for a seasoned warrior, it'll do. With the stick in hand, he turns to face the remaining 5 monsters, his posture radiating a dangerous calm. In a flash of movement, he becomes a whirlwind of destruction, dismantling the entire pack with brutal efficiency. He moves with a speed and precision that far surpasses any normal human, turning a simple wooden stick into a deadly weapon. Yunsong is left speechless, his jaw on the floor. He's never seen anyone fight like this before. Breathing heavily, our hero stands victorious, surrounded by the twitching remains of the monsters. The floor is now a gruesome canvas, painted with the dark blood of his enemies. He clenches his jaw. Disgusted, he came back to Earth to escape this stench, to live in peace, not to fight in another war. Eventually, they make it to the underground shelter, where dozens of civilians are huddled together in fear. The door creaks opens. Our hero and Yunseong enter the shelter, the sounds of chaos still ringing in their ears. A well-dressed woman rushes through the crowd, screaming Yunseong's name. It's his mother. She smothers her son in a tearful hug, thanking our hero for bringing him back safely. He takes in her designer clothes and expensive earrings, realizing Yunseong is a rich kid. That explains his naive bravado. Suddenly, the terrified murmurs of the crowd turn into screams of pure horror. With a cataclysmic boom, a monstrous black fist punches through the shelter's outer wall as if it were paper. The wall crumbles, revealing a beast far larger and more menacing than the ones they just faced. Its massive mouth, lined with rows of razor-sharp teeth, lets out a deafening roar that paralyzes the crowd with fear. Panic erupts. The promise of safety is shattered, and the civilians scramble to run for their lives. Yunseong desperately screams at our hero that this time he need to run with them, but he doesn't move. His face is a mask of cold fury and profound disappointment. He clenches his fist, his body trembling. All he wanted was to return to his peaceful home. Was that too much to ask? A wave of despair washes over him. He turns to the rich kid, who despite his wealth and the clear danger, still dreams of becoming a hero. With a new threat looming, he asks Yunsong a simple question. Why does he want to become a hunter when he could just hide and live comfortably? The boy's face hardens. With a heavy heart, he reveals that he lost his father to monsters in a bunker they thought was safe. That day, he learned a harsh lesson. There is no truly safe place on Earth. To survive, you have to fight. And so, with the fire of vengeance in his heart, Yunseong proclaims his dream to become the strongest hunter and save the world. Our hero is moved by the boy's conviction. A faint smile touches his lips as he tells the boy he'll become an excellent hunter. But, he adds, Yunsong won't be the one to save the world. As the boy's mother tries to drag the boy away, our hero remains rooted to the spot. He doesn't understand. If he is not going to save the world, then who is? Yunsong looks back, confused and shocked by the man's words. Our hero turns and walks towards the monster, leaving the terrified civilians behind. With a confident smirk, he finally reveals his intention. Saving the world? It's better left to someone who's already done it once before. Our hero reflects on the promise he made. After surviving the erosion zone, he had boldly declared he would save the world. But that heroic resolve didn't last long. Faced with the irresistible allure of modern comforts he'd missed for 20 years, his grand ambition quickly faded. The life of a hero was replaced by the life of a hardcore gamer, fueled by energy drinks and the glow of a monitor. Victory. Screen flashes, but the win feels hollow. This easy life was starting to bore him. He cracks open another can, the simple pleasure a stark contrast to the life or death struggles he once knew. Besides, with professional hunters around, he figured the world didn't need him anyway. As hunger strikes, he reaches for his phone to order some delivery, a luxury he could never have imagined. But a harsh reality check brings his lazy afternoon to a screeching halt. His bank account is practically empty, with only 3,201 left. He remembers that the original owner of this body, Yu Chan-seok, was a logistics employee left jobless after his company went bankrupt due to an erosion zone. With his severance pay gone and the economy in shambles, finding a normal job is impossible. In a world plagued by monsters, what's a broke, unemployed man to do? Just as despair sets in, a hunter recruitment ad on his phone sparks an idea. He smirks. After all, he does have more than enough experience in this particular line of work. And so, he finds himself at the towering headquarters of the Hunter Association. Stepping inside, he's buzzing with excitement, ready to start his new career. The hall is filled with other hopefuls, but 2 of them look particularly smug. They gossip about how the selection exams have become a joke, merely a formality to show off one's unique trait. The spiky-haired one sneers at the other candidates, calling them all small fries. Just then, a commanding presence cuts through the crowd, silencing the chatter. He looks up, and his expression shifts. Who could possibly be making such an entrance? The man's jaw drops. It's none other than Lee Sian, the same hunter that Brat was gushing about. The entire room erupts. The 10th ranked world hunter and partner of the Janabi Guild is here in person. Everyone is stunned. Why would a top-tier hunter show up to scout at rookie selection exam? The crowd speculate that she must be here to see a particular candidate. Her attention is focused on a file for Han Sanga, an academy graduate and a promising swordswoman with the power of electricity. She jokes if she can charge batteries, earning a sharp rebuke from his colleague. They discuss Sanga's skills, noting she's talented but lacks real-world experience. Her colleague with spiky hair loudly proclaims that erosion zone hunting is real combat. He argues that academy standouts often crumble in the face of actual danger. Lee Sin offers him a piece of candy saying that's what I'm talking about, which he reluctantly accepts. He continues his rant, explaining that students with only safe, controlled training rarely survive in the field. He predicts it will take Han Sanga a long time to adapt to the horrors of a real fight. Meanwhile, in the packed arena, the announcer's voice booms, signaling the start of the tournament. Lee Sin watches with a cool, detached expression, telling the unseen candidates to raise their value and prove themselves worthy of her attention. Suddenly, the commentator perks up, having noticed something highly unusual. He points out a candidate who is just an ordinary person, with no history at any of the hunter academies. The camera pans to our hero, standing on the stage, looking completely unfazed. The announcer calls out his name, candidate Yu Chan-sok. The rules are laid out, no personal weapons and no fatal injuries. He sets his goals. First, save the world destined to fall. Second, eat well and live well. To do that, he needs to dominate this tournament. His opponent, a cocky blonde with a spear, gives him a dismissive smirk. The two candidates take their positions. The commentator officially starts the match. The blonde immediately bursts into action, his spear wreathed in flames as he charges forward. He cackles maniacally, mocking Chan-seok for not being able to gather a single wisp of mana. Our hero simply watches him, his expression one of pure boredom. The blonde, convinced of his superiority, declares himself the undefeated spear master of the academy. But as the flaming spear is about to strike, Chan-seok vanishes in the blink of an eye. Its wielder's eyes widen in shock. He reappears right in the spearmaster's face, casually telling him he's terrible with the spear. Before the blonde can even process what happened, Chan-seok delivers a devastating gut punch that knocks the wind out of him, followed by a brutal uppercut that sends his opponent flying, out cold before he even hits the ground. The match is over in an instant. The spearmaster lies unconscious on the floor. Chan-seok stands over him, casually explaining he used his bare hands because a spear would have been overkill. He can't help but wonder if this is truly the average level for a hunter candidate. From the stands, Lee Sin's interest is piqued. Who is this mysterious fighter? Her subordinates are just as confused, noting his file lists him as a former logistics employee. They observe that he has almost no accumulated mana, dismissing his victory as a 1-in-a-million fluke. As the spiky-haired scout continues to ramble, Lee Sin throws a piece of candy at him to shut him up. She has a different theory. This man isn't just lucky, he's deliberately suppressing his mana. She wonders how such a feat is even possible. Lee Sin gets up from his chair and starts leaving. She wants to see his real skills for herself. Her associate asks her where she's going. She tells him that she needs to meet the association director. Back in the arena, Chan-seok feels a slight crick in his neck. Holding back is proving to be a bit uncomfortable. He decides to stop playing around and finish the rest of his matches decisively. What follows is a complete massacre. One by one, Chan-seok effortlessly dismantles his opponents. He faces a brawler and a swordsman, but none of them can even land a single blow. He begins to grow genuinely disappointed. Is there not a single decent fighter in the entire tournament? His silent question is answered as the crowd roars to life. It's time for the finals. His opponent is Han Sanga, the academy's top graduate and the one Lee Sin came to see. Chan-seok gives her a once-over. Finally, someone with a respectable amount of mana. She looks at him with contempt, calling his progress a fluke that's about to end. He just scratches his head, tired of the generic trash talk. She scoffs at his casual attitude and unleashes her power, electricity crackling around her. She warns him she won't be going easy. He calmly thanks her, adding that he'll also hold back on using his own unique trait, lest she get hurt. Sanga is left speechless by his sheer audacity. The final match begins, and Sanga instantly unleashes her signature move. A lightning-fast draw sends a powerful electrical slash hurtling towards him, but Chan-seok dodges it with a casual backflip. Sanga's eyes go wide with disbelief. He evaded her lightning-speed attack with a simple jump? He calmly analyzes her move, realizing she used magnetism to create a railgun effect for her blade. He lands on the ground, unimpressed. He tells her that while her skills are good, she missed the most important part of a fight. He points out her fatal flaw. She was so focused on speed that she laid out an obvious attack path with her magnetic rails. His condescending smile tells her everything. To a true veteran, her ultimate move was child's play. Infuriated, Sanga abandons her technique and lunges forward with a standard electrical attack. Chan-seok easily sidesteps, calling her an idiot for trying a slower attack after he dodged her fastest one. Pushing past her limits, Sanga unleashes a massive storm of electricity, a desperate final gambit. The arena is engulfed in a blinding flash of green and red energy. Chanseok sees she's forcibly scraping together mana, a move that will destroy her body. He sighs. It's time to end this, and rushes through the electrical storm, completely unharmed. He tells her to raise her left hand if it hurts, a chillingly calm command. Before she can react, he's on her, delivering a series of precise, disabling blows to her joints. Her body seizes up and she drops her sword. The onslaught is relentless and brutally efficient, a masterclass in hand-to-hand combat. With her eyes rolled back into her head, Han Sanga collapses to the floor, utterly defeated. The crowd can only stare in stunned silence. The Academy's valedictorian was completely and utterly overwhelmed. He turns away, the match clearly over. She relied too much on her mana and neglected the basics of physical training. Just then Nate notices some movement behind him. He sees her twitching, raising her left hand up. He smirks and thinks back to his earlier command to raise her hand if it hurts. To his surprise, she actually does it. The referee kneels beside the defeated Sangha as other officials comes running. He whispers something into the commentator's ears. Suddenly, the commentator's voice cuts in, making an urgent announcement. He declares that the tournament schedule has been changed. Chanseok is confused. He won. What more could there be? The announcer reveals a special match will take place between Chanseok and an active professional hunter. The match was made possible by the special permission of the association director himself. The crowd's reaction tells him all he needs to know. Judging by their excitement, his opponent must be a big deal. He understands now. This is a test to verify his true abilities. It seems some things are the same no matter which world you're in. A figure steps into the arena, a massive greatsword scratching the ground. It's Lee Seun from the Janabi Guild. She tells Chanseok the stage has been too small for him until now. With a confident smile, she challenges him to a match, right here, right now. Chanseok feels the immense pressure radiating from her. She's the real deal, a true powerhouse. With his current body, even with a weapon, this will be a tough fight. But a slow, confident smile spreads across his face. He's not one to back down from a challenge. The announcer stammers in disbelief as Chanseok immediately accepts the fight. Lee Seun looks on, her smile widening. His boldness is certainly impressive. Chanseok figures that if he has to fight anyway, this is the perfect chance to get the best results possible. He casually picks up a discarded spear from the arena floor. With a weapon in hand and a dangerous glint in his eye, he decides it's time to raise his value a little. The crowd and her own subordinates can only watch in stunned silence as the battle begins. Even the professional commentator is left speechless by the sheer ferocity of the opening exchange. Lee Seun unleashes a powerful downward slash with her colossal greatsword, a move meant to end the fight instantly. The Chanseok, gritting his teeth, somehow manages to parry the blow with the flimsy spear he picked up. He struggles under the immense weight of the attack, shocked that a woman's body could possess such overwhelming strength. The resulting impact sends a massive shockwave across the arena. Chanseok follows up with a devastating kick, sending Lee Seun hurtling back. She smirks, noting that his speed has already dropped significantly since the match began. Panting heavily, Chanseok admits to himself that while he can see openings in her form, his current body lacks the physical ability to exploit them. She condescendingly praises him for lasting 5 minutes, far longer than the 30 seconds she had initially expected. So now, I'll let you rest. Then she brings her massive blade down. Barely able to stand, Chanseok desperately brings the spear up to defend himself. Pushed to his absolute limit, he realizes he has no choice but to unleash his hidden trump card. He wasn't planning to use it, but he knows he has to now. He calls upon a power he hasn't used since his return, the Paradox Black Flame. Lee Seun's attack pulverizes the stage where he once stood. Landing gracefully, she looks around, wondering what just happened. She's bewildered. She's swung with a force he should have been completely unable to dodge. Suddenly, an ominous, dark energy begins to rise from Chanseok's body. He reveals the name of his special move, a power he trusted above all others before returning to Earth. He explains this was the technique he used non-stop in the other world. He points to his untouched clothes as proof of its unique nature. These black flames, he reveals, cannot burn physical matter. Instead, they consume abstract concepts as fuel. Right now, he can't burn high-level concepts like memories or ego. But there's one simple concept he is more than happy to burn. Lee Seun watches in shock as he suddenly gets faster, his movements becoming sharper. The concept he's burning is fatigue. Chanseok lunges forward, his energy completely restored. She can't comprehend it. How could he have recovered all his stamina in such a short amount of time? A fierce exchange of blows ensues, the tide of the battle suddenly turning. Lee Seun notices a strange fluctuation in the air's mana density. She realizes it's him. He tells us viewers, just as normal fire releases heat, his Paradox Black Flame releases mana when it consumes a concept. It creates a truly endless cycle. The flames burn away his fatigue, and the mana released from that process fuels the flames to burn even more fatigue. He plants his feet firmly on the ground, ready for a long fight. His specialty is revealed, a drawn-out war of attrition. Lee Seun, intrigued, charges forward to test the limits of his bizarre ability. The arena floor continues to crack and shatter under the relentless force of their prolonged battle. She asks if he plans to keep this up indefinitely. Now fully warmed up, Chanseok confirms he can still go on. He then cheekily asks if she happens to like clingy types. With a grimace, she makes it clear she absolutely hates them. However, the Paradox Black Flame has a weakness. Just like a normal fire, it leaves behind ash. Once the concept is fully burned, the flame disappears. After some time, Lee Seon checks the watch showing that an unbelievable 4 hours and 17 minutes have passed. Completely exhausted, Chanseok lies on the floor, theatrically begging her to spare him. Standing over him, Lee Seon asks if he's had enough. Then, Lee Seon takes out a lollipop from her chest pocket. From the stands, the spiky-haired subordinate stares at the lollipop, completely dumbfounded. As a reward for his efforts, Lee Seon presents Chanseok with a giant lollipop and slips her business card in with it. He takes the card, identifying her as a partner hunter for Janabi LLC. She tells him to call her later so they can talk details. With the special match concluded, the announcer officially declares Yu Chanseok the winner of the hunter selection. Sometime later, Chanseok enjoys his sugary prize while exploring his new hunter license on a smartphone. He marvels at the technology, reminiscing that licenses were just paper back in his day. He scrolls through the app, which includes everything from a hunter community and gear marketplace to emergency satellite communications. Suddenly, a deep voice calls his name. A mountain of a man approaches, complimenting Chanseok on looking better in person than he did on camera. Chanseok is shocked by the man's sheer size, guessing he must be over 2 meters tall. The giant introduces himself as Yoon Sung-yoon, handing Chanseok a business card. The card identifies him as a partner hunter from a guild called Taebak. Sung-yoon cuts right to the chase, offering Chanseok a spot on his team. He promises that with his guidance, Chanseok will undoubtedly shine. Chanseok can tell the man is being sincere. Remembering Lee Seon's card, he politely tells Sung-yoon that he already has another offer and needs some time to think. Sung-yoon lets out a hearty laugh, not expecting an immediate answer, but his friendly demeanor vanishes in an instant. He gets uncomfortably close, grabbing Chanseok's shoulder and warning him to choose carefully before striding away. The moment Sung-yoon is out of earshot, Chanseok decides that the Taebak Guild is officially off the table. He immediately pulls out his phone and makes a call. Lee Seon answers, and Chanseok asks where they should meet. Following her directions, he finds himself outside a cafe on the second floor of the association building called The Hut. A cheerful waitress greets him at the door. Inside, Lee Seon waves him over, a fancy dessert already waiting on her table. As he walks towards her, she asks if he ran into any trouble on his way. Chanseok takes a seat and tells her about the intimidatingly large man who tried to recruit him. She knows he means Yoon Sung-yoon from Taebak and explains that other guilds won't dare approach him now that Sung-yoon has made his move. Chanseok smirks, asking if that means Janabi is out of the running too. She surprises him by revealing she has no intention of recruiting him at all. Instead, she offers a different path, working as a freelancer, independent of any guild. Chanseok is confused. He assumed joining a guild was the only way. Lee Seon pulls out a simple chart explaining the 3 main ranks within a guild: junior, senior, and partner. She elaborates, showing how guilds are structured into teams led by partner hunters, with salaried seniors and juniors working beneath them. She explains that partner hunters are different. They hold shares in the guild and split its profits, much like registering a business. Chanseok astutely compares the model to that of a law firm. She confirms his comparison is accurate, and reveals there's another way to become a partner. He immediately understands. If he becomes a famous freelancer and builds a strong reputation, the guilds will come to him on their own terms. She smiles, pleased that he's a quick learner, and offers him another piece of candy. However, Chanseok points out the major hurdle. Without connections or a track record, finding decent work as a freelancer will be nearly impossible. With a reassuring smile, she offers to be his bridge to the hunter world, and she'll do it for free. Chanseok is rightfully suspicious, asking why she's going to such great lengths to help a complete stranger. She explains her long-term strategy. She's investing in his potential, so that when he becomes a top-tier hunter, he'll remember the favor and consider joining Janabi. She slides an envelope across the table, presenting him with his first potential job. He opens it to find an official request. It's a mission from Incheon City concerning a place called Gyeodongdo. The document details a failed clearing mission 2 years prior, which resulted in the formation of a permanent eroded area. His task is to patrol the area and eliminate any new, smaller erosion zones that might appear. The mission starts in 1 month. The pay is modest, but it's a start. She eagerly awaits his answer. With a determined expression, Chanseok accepts her offer. Later, in her car, Lee Seon's subordinate questions her decision to back such an unknown entity. She sits quietly, lost in thought. Her men are dismissive, pointing out that Chanseok is just a civilian. But Lee Seon excitedly tells them that he held out against her for 4 hours. From the phone, a flabbergasted voice cuts, assuming she must have been holding back. But she denies it. She reflects on her 10 years of surviving in the most brutal environments, a world where she is usually the one toying with her opponents. She admits that no one has ever pushed her like that. She declares that a monster like him is a once-in-a-lifetime find. The scene changes to the shoreline of Gyeongdo, where a team of seasoned hunters has assembled. One of Lee Seon's subordinates voices his concerns over the car radio, noting the mission specifically requested experienced hunters. He worries that even with Chansok's talent, he'll be out of his depth among these grizzled veterans. Lee Seon smiles, telling him not to worry. She's already assigned someone reliable to look after him. Her other subordinate poses a hypothetical question: what would happen if Chansok ever reached her level? She simply looks ahead with a knowing smirk. Lee Seon answers his boss's question, ominously suggesting that if Chansok ever reaches her level, he'll be able to cut your lifespan short, boss. Finally, Chansok arrives on the island, fully equipped and ready for his first real mission. The chapter opens 1 month before the mission, with the delivery driver struggling to find apartment 1506 while carrying a large, heavy case. Ringing the doorbell, he grumbles to himself about the insane weight of the package. Impatiently, he wonders what his next delivery stop will be. The door creaks open, and a voice from within asks if the package has finally arrived. Inside, Chan-seok stands before the massive case, noting with satisfaction that it's arrived right on schedule. With a sharp click, he unfastens the latches on the container. He pulls out a brand new formidable-looking spear, nodding in approval. He also finds a small vial, which he immediately recognizes as a hunter's emergency use elixir. We then get a brief lesson on mana. Most hunters operate by gathering mana from the air, storing it within their bodies, and then releasing it for their techniques. But Chan-seok's method is fundamentally different. He skips the storage phase entirely, drawing mana directly from his surroundings for immediate use. The main advantage of this technique is that his mana supply is effectively limitless, bound only by the ambient energy around him. As a side effect, the constant flow of energy gradually reinforces his internal mana channels, allowing him to handle greater and greater power over time. The only downside is that, with his channels still underdeveloped, he can't output massive bursts of power instantly. That's where the elixir comes in. He holds the potion up to the light. With the mission just a month away, he doesn't have time to train normally. This elixir is the shortcut he needs to power up. 1 month later, the day of the mission arrives. We find ourselves at the docks of Gyeongdo, ancient city. A long line of hunters snakes across the pier, each one waiting to be processed before boarding the ship. An official on duty scans a QR code from a hunter's phone, confirming his registration. The system flashes green. Hunter Yu Chan-seok, confirmed. Assignment, Team 8. At the designated assembly point for Team 8, Chan-seok finds a motley crew of hunters already waiting. They're a twitchy bunch, one complaining about being broke, another about being sleepy and scared. Suddenly, Chan-seok hears his name called and turns in surprise. It's Han Sanga, the silver-haired swordswoman from the selection test. He greets her with a small smile, commenting that her hair looks much neater now. Aboard the transport ship, Sanga proposes that she and Chan-seok stick together for the mission. Chan-seok, ever the lone wolf, bluntly asks her why he would do that. She earnestly explains that, since he's clearly stronger, she hopes to learn just by watching him in action. He crudely jokes about Sanga's dislocated shoulders. As Sanga tries to warn him about the dangers of a dislocated shoulder for a spear user, Chan-seok realizes with a sweat drop that she doesn't get jokes at all. Their awkward exchange is cut short by a sharp voice from above telling them to focus. From the upper deck, their team leader, a stern-looking man with glasses, begins the mission briefing. He announces that since there are first-timers present, he'll start with the basics, his eyes landing pointedly on Chan-seok. He displays a chart, classifying erosion zones by threat level, from the extremely dangerous grade 1 down to unrated. He explains that the first erosion zone to appear in any given area is designated Alpha. On Gyeongdo, the Alpha zone is located at an ominous-looking church on the north end of the island. Though it's currently unrated, he strictly warns the team to avoid it, as all erosion zones grow more powerful over time. Their objective is to patrol 2 specific areas, Yumneri and Gyeongmyeon, and eliminate any new, smaller erosion zones they encounter. A couple of the veteran hunters grumble about having to babysit a rookie. As Chan-seok steps onto the island, some people start complaining about the unnatural chill that permeates the air. A sweat rolls down our protagonist's cheeks as he tells them that they're just overreacting. The team disembarks and is met by a liaison officer who informs them of a shipboard command room they can contact for support. The officer then signs off, wishing them the best of luck before they head into the wilderness. Deep within the island's dense forest, a group starts to lay out the specifics of their week-long patrol. And our protagonist cuts in and suggests setting up a base of operations at a place called Hwagaisa, showing map on his phone's map. Immediately, one of the disgruntled hunters speaks up, questioning his plan while sizing Chan-seok up as an inexperienced rookie. Our protagonist patiently explains that from Mount Hwage, they'll have a clear view of both patrol zones, and there's an old temple there they can use as a shelter. But the complainers refuse to listen, arguing that climbing a mountain is needlessly risky and could lead to them being surrounded. Chan-seok sighs at their complete lack of strategic thinking, thinking to himself that there are idiots in every world. He cuts the argument short, coolly suggesting that if they can't agree, his group will simply operate separately. Without waiting for a response, Chan-seok leaps away. He's followed instantly by Han Sanga and, surprisingly, another hunter also follows him. He wonders why Kim Min-jae decided to follow, admitting to himself that his mana feels even stronger than Sanga's. Chansok stops and turns, asking Min-jae why he tagged along. Min-jae explains that it's his first mission as well, and he was concerned about two rookies going off on their own. Chansok cracks a smile, glad to see someone on the team has their head on straight. Suddenly, his senses flare. Then he hastily comes to a halt and throws up a hand, silencing Min-jae. He presses a finger to his lips, gesturing for them to take cover behind a large rock. Min-jae cautiously peeks around the boulder, and his face immediately pales with terror. In the clearing ahead, a massive horde of goblin-like eroded creatures, at least 50 strong, are swarming over. Panicked, Min-jae whispers that they have to find a way around them. Chansok, however, remains perfectly calm. He asks Min-jae what his unique trait is, much to the other hunters' disbelief. He reminds the terrified rookie that fighting these monsters is their job, and once again asks about his abilities. Min-jae stammers that his trait is fire, and his specialty is a fireball technique. Good, Chansok replies. He gives a simple order. On his signal, Min-jae is to attack first. The rookie looks like he's about to have a heart attack. Min-jae argues that it's reckless, that 3 people can't possibly take on 50 monsters. He suggests calling for backup, but Chansok immediately shoots down the idea. The others are too far away, they wouldn't make it in time. A quick look at the map confirms his assessment. The rest of the team is on the other side of the island, searching the coastline. He adds a grim warning. If they wait and the horde scatters, the creatures will become a much bigger threat to everyone else. Min-jae's protests die in his throat. He knows Chansok is right, especially after their earlier argument. The other hunters wouldn't be in any rush to help them. Chansok lays out the reality of their situation. They have to deal with this here and now. Outnumbered and outgunned, their only hope is an ambush. Using his spear, he quickly sketches a simple but brilliant battle plan in the dirt. The strategy is direct. Min-jae will open with a massive fireball aimed at the center of the horde to cause chaos. Chansok will handle the monsters on the flanks. Min-jae is stunned. For a supposed rookie, Chansok's strategy is incredibly detailed and accounts for every variable. It feels like he's a veteran of countless battles. The signal is given. Min-jae takes a shaky breath and focuses his mana. With a desperate yell, he unleashes his power, sending a massive fireball screaming towards the pack of monsters. The fireball impacts with devastating force, engulfing a large chunk of the horde in a fiery inferno. Panting from the exertion, Min-jae says he needs time to cast another spell of that magnitude. Chansok flashes a predator's grin, telling him that's fine. He just needs to have the next one ready to go. With a determined nod, Min-jae begins to gather his mana once more. Before the smoke from the first blast has even cleared, Chansok is already moving, a blur of motion darting towards the enraged survivors. As he fights, he muses that efficiency is the most important thing in battle, and that requires a perfect division of roles. His current role is to act as a shield, preventing any of the monsters from reaching the vulnerable spellcaster Min-jae. Of course, he knows he can't possibly hold off this many enemies by himself, but that's why teamwork is so important. At that moment, Han Sanga draws her blade with a metallic ring, ready to play her part. Just then, Min-jae shouts that his second fireball is ready. Chansok, surrounded by monsters, yells back for him to fire without hesitation, confident he can get out of the way. A second, even larger fireball consumes the battlefield in a blinding flash of light. Chansok vaults through the air, narrowly escaping the blast radius of the massive explosion. He lands firmly and shouts for his 2 companions to get down. With a mighty heave, he slams the butt of his spear into the ground. A powerful shockwave radiates outwards, knocking the few remaining monsters off their feet. Standing amidst the smoking aftermath, Chansok turns to praise his team, saying, "Good work, everyone." But he's cut off mid-sentence. From the trees, Kim Min-jae emerges, pointing a gun directly at Chansok's head. The tension immediately deflates into a moment of awkward comedy. Min-jae, sweating with a goofy grin, asks Chansok to step aside. Meanwhile, sweat rolled down our protagonist's cheeks. He says, "I thought you were about to shoot me." He realizes the gun is just a microchip implanter. Min-jae sheepishly explains that he was just trying to do his job, tagging the monster corpses for collection. Chansok looks on, confused, as Min-jae explains the system for cashing in on monster parts. Apparently it's too cumbersome for hunters to harvest the parts themselves, so they tag the bodies, and contracted junk dealers come to collect them after the area is secure. These dealers then appraise the parts, sell them, take a commission, and send the rest of the profit back to the hunter who tagged the kill. Chansok questions the trustworthiness of such a system, but Min-jae assures him it's standard practice. You just have to find a good dealer. As Min-jae gushes about how amazing it was for the 3 of them to take down 50 monsters, a sinister presence watches them from the shadows. Suddenly, a new, far more powerful creature bursts from the trees. Chansok reacts in a flash, tackling Min-jae out of harm's way. The 2 rookies hit the ground hard, narrowly avoiding the monster's devastating strike. Chansok and Sanga immediately get into a battle stance, while Min-jae struggles to his feet, terrified by the sudden ambush. The creature reveals a horrifying grin, its aura radiating immense power. Chansok's eyes narrow. He instantly recognizes this feeling. This is a mid-boss. A massive, bat-like humanoid monster now stands before them, its presence a stark contrast to the goblin grunts from before. Annoyed by the constant stream of unexpected threats, Chanseok mutters a curse under his breath. The monster lets out a guttural growl, confirming Chanseok's assessment. The mana pouring out of it is on a completely different level. Gritting his teeth, Chanseok makes a snap decision. He orders his teammates to stay back, declaring that he'll take this one on by himself. Sangha argues that it's reckless. She thinks they should stall it and call for backup. But Chanseok shuts them down with a furious roar, telling them to stop talking and fall back immediately. His sheer intensity shocks both Sangha and Minjae into silence. As they retreat, Chanseok explains his reasoning to himself. Fighting alone means he can go all out, using his paradox black flame without worrying about collateral damage. With a determined glare, he looks the monster dead in the eye and tells the bat bastard to bring it on. The battle erupts in a storm of motion. Watching from a safe distance, Sangha and Minjae look on with concern. Minjae even conjures a small flame, ready to assist, but Sangha dismisses it, saying there's no need. She points toward fight. It looks like Chanseok is being pushed back, but the monster hasn't landed a single hit. Sangha is in awe of his movements. She realizes that attacks she would struggle just to dodge, Chanseok is evading, while simultaneously launching counterattacks of his own. And with every strike of his spear, a strange black flame latches onto the monster's body. She watches, mesmerized, as the more black flame covers the beast, the slower and more sluggish its movements become. What started as a desperate defense has now turned into a one-sided beatdown. Chanseok, a wicked grin spreading across his face, is now toying with his opponent. Sangha is speechless. Is he really a newbie hunter like me? How is this even possible? The monster, enraged and weakened, swings a desperate blow. Chanseok ducks under it with ease. Then, in a move that shocks everyone, he spins and hurls his spear high into the sky. His teammates cry out in warning, thinking he's disarmed himself at the worst possible moment. The monster, seeing an opening, lunges at the now weaponless Chanseok, but our protagonist stands his ground, a calm expression on his face. The monster gets within inches of him before suddenly freezing in place. It lets out a final, weak gurgle and collapses to the ground, dead. Chanseok casually catches his spear as it falls back to earth, musing that he'll have to finish the job properly. Minjae and Sangha can only stare, their minds completely blown. Minjae stammers, asking what just happened. It looked like Chanseok was being pushed back, but at some point, the monster just collapsed. Chanseok ignores the question and walks over to the corpse, calling Minjae over. He asks if it's normal to see monsters of this caliber here. Minjae confirms it's not. This kind of creature should only appear in a GRADE3 erosion zone. Chanseok recalls the briefing. Erosion zones are graded from 1 to 3, with the weakest being unrated. The alpha zone on this island was supposedly unrated. He puts the pieces together. The intel was wrong. Gyeodongdo's alpha erosion zone has clearly been upgraded to grade 3. Sangha protests, remembering the briefing clearly stated it was unrated. But Chanseok tells her to think calmly. There's no other explanation. Minjae completely panics. The power difference between unrated and grade 3 is like night and day. If it's true, the other hunters on this island, they don't stand a chance. The number of survivors will be almost none. In a panic, Minjae begs Chanseok to go save the other hunters. With his skill, he might stand a chance, even against a grade 3 zone. But Chanseok's response is ice cold. He declines. He explains that he can't save every hunter on the island. Their mission is to find and eliminate new zones, not to rescue people. In this line of work, casualties are inevitable. Sangha steps forward, challenging his cynical worldview. She asks what he would do if he were in their place, about to die. Wouldn't he feel resentful? Wouldn't he beg for his life? Shouldn't they show pity and help them? Chanseok's expression darkens. He tells her this isn't about feelings. It's about the result. A painful memory flashes through his mind. A bearded man, moments from death. He explains that in this world, there are deaths you simply cannot avoid. When you face that kind of death, no matter what you think or feel, you die. He warns them that if they let a hopeless situation shake their resolve, they won't survive in this world. Later that night, the trio arrives at the old temple Chanseok had designated as their base camp. Chanseok does a quick sweep. The building is intact, and there are no signs of monsters. It's safe. Sangha and Minjae stand watch outside, the long day finally catching up to them. From their vantage point on the mountain, they can see the lights of the other hunters, camps scattered across the island below. Chanseok warns them that using light so carelessly makes their positions obvious, and that's incredibly dangerous. It's fine if there are only small fry around, but if something like the mid-boss they just fought shows up, deciding to do the bare minimum, Chanseok types out a group message, warning the other teams of the increased threat level and advising them to douse their lights. As they settle in, Chanseok asks a question. He's heard that if you destroy the core of an erosion zone, all the monsters simply disappear. Minjae confirms this. Hearing this, a plan begins to form in his mind. The solution is simple. They just need to eliminate the erosion zone itself. As night deepens, the team prepares to rest. Sangha finds a spot to lean against the wall and quickly drifts off to sleep. Min-jae, exhausted from the day's events, is already passed out. While his teammates rest, Chan-seok quietly sets up a small, box-like radar device that will alert them if any monsters approach. With the camp secured, he grabs his spear and slips out of the temple. He's not one to sit and wait. He's going straight to the source. He thinks to himself that it was a good thing the team leader confirmed the Alpha Erosion Zone's location. At this rate, things should go smoothly. But just as he thinks that, a shadowy figure lands silently in his path. Chan-seok stops in his tracks, a scowl on his face. He knew it. It was all going a little too smoothly. Chan-seok looks at the attacker's face, but it's someone he's never seen before. A towering, demonic creature, far more terrifying than anything he's faced yet, looms over him. Meanwhile, at the Hunter Association's Situation Room, things were spiraling into chaos. An operator yells that signals from Team 5 have gone dark, presumed killed in action. Another reports that the monsters are moving with organized tactics, and Team 3 has a confirmed death. The team leader looks on in horror as reports of casualties flood in. The supposedly unrated zone was proving to be a death trap. The leader declares an emergency, activating the network to request urgent support from all nearby regional hunters. The situation is dire. As the operators scramble, another alert comes in. Someone is approaching the Alpha Erosion Zone, the very heart of the danger. The team lead demands to know who it is, ordering them to be stopped immediately. But the operator reveals the lone hunter is Yu Chan-seok of Team 8. Alone in the dead of night, Chan-seok races towards his objective, completely unaware that he's being monitored. The team lead's expression shifts. He realizes Chan-seok must have been the first to figure out the zone had been upgraded. He orders the team to connect to his device and confirm if he's still alive. The connection establishes just in time for them to hear Chan-seok fighting for his life, dodging a relentlessly fast monster. Through the comms, they hear him cursing them out for their shoddy intel. He yells that if it wasn't for his skills, any other hunter would be dead by now. As Chan-seok continues his tirade, promising to stick an erosion zone on their faces when he gets back, one of the operators sheepishly asks if they should mute the audio. Chan-seok knows he's in a tough spot. He analyzes his Paradox Black Flame, realizing it doesn't have the raw power to kill this thing outright. His strategy is clear. He has to wear the strong ones down with the flame's debilitating effect first, then finish them off with his spear. But even with that strategy, this giant lump of meat just refuses to go down. He grits his teeth, realizing the problem. He pulled far too much mana from the area to deal with the giant bat monster earlier, leaving his current reserves weaker than usual. He knows he can't leave the island, but to win this, he needs to find a new place on Gyeodongdu to draw mana from. Suddenly, his senses flare up. He's found it. Hidden amongst the trees is a strange, dark, pulsing portal with an immense amount of mana. As he leaps into it, and the purple beast he was fighting flies in for the kill. He tells the beast it had better keep up. Back at the control center, an operator reports that Chan-seok's GPS signal has vanished. The team leader looks on, grim-faced. Hunter Yu Chan-seok has officially entered the lion's den. Chan-seok arrives in a barren, desolate landscape. The inside of the zone looks surprisingly clean. He remarks that if this is what an upgraded Grade 3 zone looks like, he can only imagine the scale of a Grade 1 or 2. Just then, the purple creature lands before him. He thinks sightseeing's over. As the monster lets out a menacing growl, Chan-seok recalls the greatest weakness of his Paradox Black Flame. He grips his spear as the black flames begin to creep up the shaft. The power sticks to every living thing except him, even if they're allies. It's an indiscriminate force of destruction. That's precisely why he had to come alone. If he can't fully control the battlefield, the risk of friendly fire makes the ability a liability. He launches at the monsters, thrusting his spear, and flames lash out, clinging to the monster's body. Fighting alone means that weakness might as well not exist. He's free to go all out. He takes a firm stance, a smirk playing on his lips. What matters is what happens next. A brilliant blue light erupts from his chest. He's not just damaging the monster, he's absorbing its mana. The raw energy courses through his veins, widening and hardening his mana channels. He feels his body overflowing with power. The efficiency of this mana absorption is even better than he expected. He clenches his fists, feeling the surge. He's several times stronger than when he started, though he admits he's still not back to his full otherworld power level. The monster, now weakened and having its energy siphoned, lets out a pained roar, and instantly he's surrounded by the swarm of monsters. He then murmurs, "So you were calling for backup." But in face of true strength, numbers doesn't matter. He then thrusts his spear and creates a vortex of black flame and clears all the monster. Chan-seok scans the area, wondering where the true core of the zone is. He remembers Min-jae's words. It should be the strongest monster in the space. Just then, a voice cuts. "Your flame died." As if it was waiting for that exact moment, the monster lunges at him from behind. Chan-seok disappears before the land could hit. Chan-seok mockingly asks if he was waiting for his flame to burn out. He compliments its intelligence before landing on the ground. The core of an erosion zone is truly on another level. This monster is not only powerful, but sentient. It looks Chansok in the eye and promises him one thing: death. Chansok calmly assesses his new power level. With what he's at now, he calculates that he should be able to pull off 4 consecutive strikes. He grips his spear, planting his feet firmly on the cracked earth. With an explosive burst of speed, he closes the distance in an instant. He unleashes a lightning-fast thrust, his spearhead a blur of silver light. The monster parries, its own weapon clashing against Chansok's spear with a shower of sparks. Chansok's eyes narrow. He unleashes his secret technique, double after-image thrust. As his spear moves, a glowing blue trail forms along its path. That trail isn't just for show. It perfectly copies his first strike, repeating it 4 times in quick succession. A simple technique that just repeats 4 blows would be easy enough to handle. But Chansok adds a deadly twist. He makes the blue trail attack just a single beat behind his own physical strike. The result is a 2-layered spear, round, a time-lagged pincer attack that's a nightmare to dodge. Faced with an attack that hits from 2 different timings at once, the opponent is bound to slip up eventually. The monster's mask shows the first sign of panic as the after-image strikes connect, bypassing its defenses. Chansok's real spear follows through, piercing the beast's guard. He pushes forward, his eyes locked on his target. This is the end. A whirlwind of blue light and steel engulfs the monster, the delayed after-images and Chansok's direct attacks creating an inescapable vortex of destruction. The core monster is overwhelmed, its body riddled with dozens of strikes in a single instant. Its body begins to break down, not into blood and gore, but into glowing blue particles. Chansok watches, expecting it to simply vanish like the others. But as the particles dissipate, a strange, glowing cube materializes in its place. He looks down, wondering what it is. The box lets out a soft click and opens, revealing its contents. A grin spreads across Chansok's face. Back at the Hunter Association, the Situation Room is in complete disarray. The team lead yells, demanding to know who plotted the Hunter routes, accusing them of sending the teams to their deaths. An operator shouts that Team 9's signals just cut out. The Hunters sent as reinforcements have been engaged by monsters, and interference is making it impossible for them to land. The team leader stares at the tactical map, his face a mask of despair. Is this the end? He feels helpless. Unless some miracle happens, all he can do is stand there and watch the Hunters get wiped out. But just as all hope seems lost, an operator cries out. A message just came in from Hunter Yu Chansok, who entered the Alpha Erosion Zone. The shocked team lead demands to know what it says. The operator quickly puts it up on the main screen for everyone to see. The message is short and to the point. A notification to all recipients. Diodongdo's Alpha Erosion Zone has been cleared as of now. Everyone stares in disbelief. Another operator confirms it. The zone's signal has vanished, and all monsters that had engaged hunters have disappeared. A miracle actually happened. Miles away, sitting atop a cliff under the clear night sky, Chansok takes a deep breath, remarking that the air is nice. Meanwhile, on the monster-infested island, the surviving hunters are fighting for their lives. Han Sanga is barely holding her own against the relentless horde. She expertly wields her sword, lightning crackling around her as she parries and strikes. But the battle is taking its toll. She realizes with dread that there are far more monsters than there were during the day. To make matters worse, she tells Kim Min-jae that their ace, Yu Chanseok, has disappeared. As they stand back to back against an endless sea of monsters, Min-jae loses hope, asking if they'll even make it out alive. Sanga is no better. A nasty gash on her leg. A goblin-like creature screeches, sensing their weakness and lunging forward. Sanga tries to reposition, but her body gives out. She stumbles, her legs refusing to move. Her eyes widen in shock. She's completely exhausted and paralyzed with fatigue. The monsters see their chance, leaping from the shadows to finish her off. Min-jae can only watch in horror, screaming her name as a beast's gaping maw descends upon her. But then, in an instant, the chaotic night sky clears, revealing a serene full moon. The monsters attacking Sanga and Min-jae suddenly freeze, then begin to dissipate into black smoke. The two hunters can only stare in confusion, as the creatures that nearly killed them simply vanish into thin air. Back at the Gyeongdong-do Hunter Assembly Point, the crisis has ended. The area is now a triage and recovery zone. Our hero strolls into the camp, looking completely unfazed by the recent chaos. The surviving hunters stare at him in a mixture of awe and disbelief. They whisper amongst themselves, confirming the impossible rumor. The rookie hunter, Yu Chanseok, cleared the upgraded Grade 3 erosion zone all by himself. Min-jae and Sanga, now patched up, spot their savior and call out to him. He can't believe Chanseok managed to clear the entire zone alone when he read the message. When asked how he pulled off such an impossible feat, Chanseok puts on a heroic face, claiming his heart simply moved to protect his fellow hunters. His teammates are not impressed by the cringy act. As he walks off, Chanseok muses to himself that, since things went well, it's time to play the good guy. After all, image management is a skill too. Just then, he's approached by a man in a black suit who introduces himself as Director Byun Jong-tae of the Korea Corporation. Chan-suk recognizes him as the one who asked him to come here. The director asks for a moment of his time. He informs Chan-suk that the mayor of Incheon would like to meet him. Chan-suk soon finds himself standing in the rain outside a large, imposing government building. Getting out of the car, he dryly thinks that ordering people around seems to be a universal trait among those in power. Chan-suk recalls that his contract never specified the compensation for clearing a grade 3 zone. He smirks, realizing he's in a prime position to negotiate. Just then, an aide comes and introduces himself as Lee Pilji, a communications and cooperation officer, and shakes Chan-seok's hand. Pilji leads Chan-seok through the sterile hallways of the city hall. He explains that the mayor was so shocked by the report that he canceled his entire morning schedule. Chan-seok, unimpressed, replies that they could have just met later. Pilji gushes over Chan-seok's achievement, declaring that a first-timer solo clearing a grade 3 zone is a feat not seen since the legendary Great Pioneer. Chan-seok internally acknowledges how tough the fight was, but his interest is piqued. A precedent? He wonders if this so-called Great Pioneer was a monster himself. Pilji opens the door to a large office, announcing their arrival. The man behind the desk welcomes them, thanking Chan-seok for coming all this way. He introduces himself as Park Jian, the mayor of Incheon. The mayor invites Chan-seok to have a seat and orders Pilji to fetch them some coffee. Over coffee, the mayor explains that Gyeongdo had been a major headache for the city. With limited budgets, hiring an expensive guild was out of the question, so Chan-seok's success was a godsend. He notes that he heard this was Chan-seok's very first job, which Chan-seok confirms with a sip of coffee. The mayor practically leaps out of his seat with excitement, shouting that as Incheon's mayor, he's incredibly proud that such an extraordinary hunter began his career in his city. Chan-seok looks on, slightly bewildered, as the mayor launches into an impassioned, patriotic tirade about Incheon being a core region of the world's safest nation. He goes on to praise the city's infrastructure, from its international airport to its free economic zone projects. He boasts about the international cities of Songdo and Cheongga, which attract countless foreign investors. The massive funds and goods flowing through the city are, in his eyes, a testament to its greatness. He concludes his sales pitch by promising to personally ensure Chan-seok's path as a hunter will be smooth and free of obstacles. Earlier, while driving Chan-seok to the mayor's, Byun Jong-tae asks him a probing question. What is his purpose for working as a hunter? Chan-seok gives a cryptic, yet telling response. He says that if there's a clogged toilet spewing filth, someone has to be the one to run in and unclog it. Byun Jong-tae understands. He then warns Chan-seok that his newfound fame will bring immense popularity, but also the risk of corruption. Chan-seok glances over, noting that Byun Jong-tae seems worried he'll be ruined by fame. Byun Jong-tae confirms this, explaining that many promising hunters have become drunk on their popularity and lost sight of their duty. He paints a grim picture of the world, where Korea is the last sanctuary on Earth, a safe haven surrounded by monster-filled eroded zones. But even this sanctuary, he laments, is being swayed by the influence of capital and greed. He emphasizes that Chan-seok's accomplishment is tremendous and will attract the attention of many powerful people. Byun Jong-tae looks at Chan-seok with genuine hope, asking him to continue being a symbol of hope for the common people. Back in the mayor's office, however, Chan-seok's inner thoughts reveal he's not buying any of it. He saw the mayor's flattery for what it was. A small, knowing smirk plays on his lips. He's lived too long and seen too much to be swayed by such an obvious manipulation. He then speaks, if mayor is going to offer so much support, he should offer something in return. So he throws the mayor a curveball, suggesting he could help a mayor with dropping approval ratings get re-elected. The mayor's jaw drops. Stammering, the mayor remarks that Chan-seok is surprisingly well informed. Chan-seok coolly explains that modern phones are full of useful information. He points out that the mayor's term ends next year, and the consensus is that re-election will be difficult. The flustered mayor quickly changes the subject, admitting that Chan-seok, as a first-timer, needed his special permission to participate. The plan was to brand Chan-seok as a talent discovered by Mayor Park Jian. Essentially, the mayor wanted to ride Chan-seok's coattails to boost his own political standing. The mayor then lays out his offer. He boasts about his connections, pointing to a box of coffee mix on the table. He explains that the model's contract for the brand is ending soon and he could easily have her replaced with Chan-seok's face. Chan-seok's expression hardens. He bluntly asks the mayor if he thinks he's cheap. The mayor is stunned into silence by the rookie's audacity. Chan-seok explains that all the things the mayor offered, sponsorships, fame, and money, are things he'll get on his own anyway, just by continuing to be a successful hunter. The mayor, now sweating, makes a last-ditch effort, offering to hand-pick safe, high-paying jobs for him. Chan-seok stands, calling the proposal really uninteresting. He waves goodbye, telling the mayor to congratulate the coffee mix model. Looks like she'll be getting her contract extended after all. Later that evening, in a rainy underpass, a bald man kneels before a mysterious hooded figure. The figure states that the Gyeongdo test was a failure. However, the bald man says it can't be helped, and that there's good news too. He holds up a phone. On the screen is footage from Chansok's hunter certification exam, showing him unleashing his powerful black flames. A sinister grin spreads across his hidden face. The test may have been a failure, but he has found a new, exceptionally powerful pawn to play with. The first of the month has arrived, and with it, the release of the much-anticipated September 2025 Hunter Rankings, an event that has the whole nation buzzing. Citizens of all ages eagerly check their phones, caught up in the excitement of seeing where their favorite heroes stand. While the rankings rarely saw major shakeups and were mostly entertainment for the public, everyone had their predictions for the #1 spot. Even hunters recovering from their last brutal mission wait with bated breath, wondering if their efforts were enough to make the list. At the Hunter Association headquarters, Chairman Moon Jong-tae receives the official briefing on the September World Hunter Rankings. Elsewhere, Lee Si-yoon checks her own phone, curious to see if a certain rookie managed to make his mark. Meanwhile, Yoo Chan-suk sits with a knowing look, confident that the world is about to be turned on its head. As everyone scrolls through the list, they're in for a massive surprise. The rankings begin, revealing 10th placeholder Lee Si-yoon, who seems to be on a chilly expedition far from the city. At 5th place is the deadly-looking Kim Chae-hyun, a hunter with an intense gaze and a unique bladed weapon. The powerful flame-wielder Choi Yorium secures the 3rd spot, wreathed in fire. The #2 spot is claimed by the monstrously muscular Jang Tae-seok. And finally, the moment everyone has been waiting for, the reveal of the #1 hunter. An official from the association makes the shocking announcement. The new #1 is none other than Mr. Yoo Chan-suk. This is unprecedented. Chan-suk is listed as a new entry hunter, marking the fastest rise to the top in the history of the rankings. The word "new" next to his name sends shockwaves through the entire hunter community and the public alike. Solo clearing a grade 3 zone is one thing for a veteran, but for a fresh hunter on his very first mission, it's an earth-shattering achievement. Chan-suk is immediately thrust into the spotlight, facing a press conference where reporters hound him with questions about his past and his unbelievable feat. He internally scoffs at the spectacle, feeling like he's on some kind of talent show. A reporter asks the new #1 for a few words about his mindset and future determination. Chan-suk cuts through the noise, telling them to skip the usual cliches about working hard. He looks the world in the eye and makes a simple yet powerful promise. He will show them everything through his results. Sometime later, Chan-suk finds himself in a high-tech helicopter, flying alongside the Hunter Association chairman, Moon Jong-tae. They fly over the haunting ruins of a city, a grim reminder of the world outside Korea's safe zones. The chairman explains that while most nations lost their administrative capacity after the erosion zones appeared, Korea thrived, becoming a technological superpower. He points out their very helicopter, a piece of advanced tech that runs on mana and blocks all external noise, is a product of that advancement. As they descend towards the wasteland, the chairman reveals their destination. They are flying over Gonsalak, one of the 8 most dangerous erosion zones in the world, one of the so-called Great 80s. He recounts the zone's horrific origin 13 years ago, when it appeared without warning and swallowed an entire city, its people falling into the abyss. In just a few days, an entire metropolis vanished without a sound. The few who survived the initial event were quickly swept away by the monsters that now called the eroded area home. The chairman explains that while the zones weakened central governments worldwide, it created new power dynamics. Chan-suk has listened patiently, but he finally cuts to the chase, asking the chairman why he was brought here. The chairman reveals that Yeon Sung-yoon of the Taebaek Guild had recently paid him a visit. It seems the guild was quite annoyed that Chan-suk had refused their recruitment offer. Then chairman reveals Sung-yoon asked for his personal address. The chairman warns him that Taebaek operates on a might makes right ideology and won't hesitate to use force to get what they want. Chan-suk grits his teeth, acknowledging internally that a direct confrontation with a powerhouse like Sung-yoon would be difficult for him at his current level. The chairman correctly surmises that Chan-suk intends to work alone without the backing of a major guild. He offers Chan-suk a way to protect himself, build up his reputation and influence by taking on high-profile missions directly from the association. The pieces click into place for Chan-suk. This whole trip, the world lesson, the warnings, it all had a purpose. He cuts through the pretense and asks the chairman what his price is for this help. The chairman simply smiles, stating that Chan-suk only needs to remember who helped him in his time of need. He then hands Chan-suk an envelope containing his first official mission from the association. As the helicopter flies on, Chan-suk reviews the mission, thinking it's not a bad deal to build his weight class. He then asks for the specifics. The job is to escort a cargo ship of necessities from Busan to Nanning, a simple task made difficult by the presence of eroded zones. However, Chan-suk's definition of necessities differs greatly from the chairman's, as the cargo list includes Rolex watches, luxury cars, and high-end liquor. He dryly notes how things have changed in 20 years. The chairman catches the strange 20 years comment but presses on, explaining that even with the world in chaos, maintaining international relations is key. These luxury goods are essentially bribes to keep other national powers on Korea's side. Upon hearing this, Chanseok clicks his seatbelt open and flatly declines the mission. The chairman is stunned, insisting the job is of utmost importance to the Korean government. But Chanseok's mind is made up. He has no interest in getting entangled in the dirty world of politics. The chairman accuses the rookie of letting his newfound fame go to his head. As Chanseok calmly moves to the helicopter's open door, the chairman demands to know what he's doing. Chanseok casually thanks him for the ride, then declares he'll just swim back to Seoul on his own. And with that, the world's #1 hunter leaps out of the helicopter, leaving a bewildered chairman in his wake. A massive splash marks his entry. The chairman is left speechless, muttering about the audacity of kids these days. Later that evening, the scene shifts to the bustling Incheon port. A lone dock worker enjoys a quiet moment, sipping a warm drink. Suddenly, the water beside the pier begins to churn violently. A soaking wet Chanseok bursts from the surface, gasping for breath after his long swim. He mutters about the chairman's intimidating tactics, while the startled worker can only offer a confused congratulations for whatever he just went through. Chanseok simply thanks him, his mind already on his next move. This whole ordeal has solidified his resolve. He knows that what he needs now, more than anything, is to build his own strength. He decides to seek out the most difficult, grueling jobs available to quickly increase his power and influence. He is determined to become so powerful that no one, not the guilds, not the government, can ever push him around again. With this new goal in mind, he pulls out his phone and starts searching for a suitable mission. He quickly finds one and accepts it, providing assistance to a group of kidnapping victims on Tsushima Island. The mission briefing lists the expected threat level as a grade 2 erosion zone. As the sun sets over the port, Chanseok sits atop a crane, contemplating the path ahead. He takes a deep breath, knowing that from this day forward, he's going to be very busy. The chapter opens on September 3rd, with local fishermen setting out for the hairtail season, unaware of the lurking danger. But something was different about the sea that day. A new, terrifying predator had emerged from the depths. Eroded creatures nesting on Tsushima Island swarmed a fishing boat, kidnapping the helpless fishermen like prey. The few who managed to escape were left deeply traumatized, their harrowing accounts painting a grim picture of the situation. Their testimony confirms the fishermen are still alive, prompting an urgent rescue mission to the ominous shores of Tsushima Island. Back in his apartment, Chanseok reviews the details of the mission he just accepted. The compensation is a hefty 55 million won, a sum that immediately grabs his attention. He muses that if he handles this mission alone, the entire reward will be his. It's certainly not a bad amount for a single job. Plus, successfully rescuing the hostages would earn him a heartwarming story in the press and a massive boost in fame. He decides it's worth the risk, but he knows this won't be as straightforward as his last mission. He recalls that creatures from a grade 3 erosion zone had the destructive power equivalent to a tank, but this new mission is a grade 2, where the eroded creatures are comparable to full-blown natural disasters. And a grade 1 zone is so catastrophic that it requires an entire nation to mobilize against a single entity. Chanseok weighs his options. His Paradox Black Flame was enough for grade 3, but he's uncertain if he can withstand a grade 2 zone alone. To eliminate any variables, he decides he needs someone capable by his side. The problem is, most powerful hunters wouldn't even glance at a civilian-posted request like this. But then he thinks of someone perfect for the job. The scene cuts to the open ocean. Chanseok, now in full combat gear, stands on the deck of a boat, spear in hand. He turns to his companion, asking how long until they reach Tsushima Island, and his partner is revealed to be none other than Han Sanga. She estimates about an hour, and he advises her to build up her stamina, warning that this fight will be tougher than their last one. As he checks his phone, his partner's eyes are drawn to his equipment. She homes in on the gleaming piece of armor on his shoulder. With an expert eye, she identifies it as the rare, limited edition Iron Seraph's shoulder gear, and excitedly asks how he acquired it. Chanseok nonchalantly claims it was a gift from a junk dealer he has a contract with. He then smirks, arrogantly stating that the level of expectations is different for a rising star like him, compared to her, a mere rookie with a valedictorian title. She glares at him, clearly unamused by his taunt. His words seem to trigger a memory. We flash back to a few days prior, showing the moment Chanseok recruited her. He had called to offer her a partnership on the mission, but she was visibly concerned. She reminded him that she almost died in a grade 3 zone, and the idea of facing a grade 2 was terrifying. Chanseok paused, letting her fear hang in the air before responding. He cut straight to the heart of the matter, asking a simple question. Don't you want to get stronger? He reminded her of her own words from the past, when she said she wanted to learn from him because he was the stronger of the two. He then made his pitch, an offer she couldn't possibly refuse. He guaranteed that if she joined him, he would personally teach her, promising she could become several times stronger than she is now. Her resolve hardened. This was the opportunity she had been waiting for. She has her own, deep-seated reasons for needing to become more powerful. The thought of gaining that strength was all the motivation she needed. She fiercely accepted his offer, declaring that she would jump into hell itself if it meant getting stronger. Back in the present, an alarm suddenly blares across the boat, snapping them back to reality. Through the dense fog, they spot their targets, a fleet of 5 unidentified ships. Chanseok and Sanga watch the eerie vessels approach. Sanga asks how they should proceed. Chanseok states that they need a stealthy approach, since there are civilians on board. He turns to Sanga for ideas, but what he sees surprises him. He sees Sanga floating in the air. He questions, "So you can do that too?" Sanga laughs maniacally, assuming he's admitting his own inability. Turns out he can't do it either. So he opts for a less elegant approach, diving straight into the churning sea. With Sanga on his back, he powers through the water, explaining that he still can't run on its surface. Yet, as they get closer, he scans the fleet with his enhanced senses. He points Sanga towards the closest ship, warning her to stay away from the others. His mana sense tells him that the ships further back are radiating a much more dangerous aura. As they board the ship, Sanga is startled to see what look like people on the deck. But a closer look reveals a far more horrifying reality. Chanseok tells her to open her eyes and look again. These things aren't human. The figures move with a grotesque, unnatural gait, revealing themselves to be a horde of undead monsters. Sanga leaps into action, landing gracefully on the ship's railing. Chanseok follows with a much less subtle landing, warning her that showing off like that will blow out your joints. Plus you'll attract unwanted attention. And he's right. The entire deck of ghouls slowly turns to face them. Chanseok's eyes glow as he assesses the threat. He thrusts his foot on the ground, sending projectile everywhere. The monsters obliterates with a single hit. He quickly determines that these are low-tier Grade 2 monsters, a fact that brings him a small measure of relief. This means the fight should be manageable, and it's a perfect test for his new partner. Just then, Han Sanga unleashes a massive wave of green electrical energy, tearing through the first wave of undead. She looks back, expecting praise, but is met with a sharp rebuke from Chanseok. He furiously yells at her for using too much mana. He berates her, saying she'll exhaust herself quickly, and that a much lower output is sufficient for these weaklings. She struggles to rein in her power, his harsh lesson proving difficult to absorb in the heat of battle. Chanseok continues to shout instructions, coaching her on mana efficiency while simultaneously fighting off the horde. She tries to adjust her output, but her control falters under the immense pressure. As he screams at her to cut her power down even more, her frustration builds. The tense situation triggers a traumatic memory from her past. She recalls the endless cold and dark of being weak, a life she swore she would never return to. This is why she must become strong, no matter the cost. Fueled by her painful past, she unleashes another powerful, albeit inefficient, blast of energy, slitting the monster in half. The last monster on the ship crumbles into dust. Sanga catches her breath, the adrenaline of the battle still coursing through her. Chanseok lands softly on the railing of a nearby ship, and casually asks if she's done, revealing he just cleared an entire ship on his own. Annoyed, Sanga mutters that it's hardly the time for showboating. Sheathing her blade, she sarcastically thanks him for the advice. Chanseok retorts that there are plenty of people who won't listen to him anyway. Sanga's tone turns serious, admitting this is the first time anyone has ever given her combat advice. Chanseok is caught off guard, questioning if her seniors at the academy never helped. She reveals a painful truth. Her peers ostracized her for learning too fast. He tells her that if she keeps following his advice, she'll become even stronger. Her eyes gleam with resolve as she declares there is no teacher she can't eventually surpass. Chanseok is taken aback by her bold declaration. He smirks, telling her he won't be surpassed, and she'll be learning from him for life. With the ghost ships cleared, they make it to Tsushima Island, where the real rescue mission begins. The Coast Guard salutes them, promising to stand by at Gyoji Island for extraction. Chanseok thanks them, his focus already on the dangerous task ahead. He recalls the key intel. The hostages are being held in a temple. Sanga confirms there are 2 temples on the island, Gaijin Temple and Atazumi Temple. She notes that Gaijin Temple is the closest, reachable within a few hours on foot. But Chanseok sees a major flaw in their plan. They're going in empty-handed but must escort 15 hostages back out. If any fishermen are injured, the return journey will be exponentially harder. On top of that, his mana sense detects a terrifying aura lurking in the island's fog. He knows countless monsters will be hunting them relentlessly. To avoid an ambush and protect everyone, they need one crucial thing. They need transportation. Looking at a van standing nearby, he asks Sanga if she can drive. She confidently replies that she can, wondering what he has in mind. The wheels hits the road, and the next thing Chanseok knows, he's screaming. The van is tearing through the forest path at an insane speed. He yells at Sanga, asking if the brakes are just for decoration. The two are tossed around like ragdolls inside the chaotic vehicle. Sanga yells back that if he doesn't like her driving, he can take the wheel himself. Chanseok wisely decides to let her continue her demolition derby. He climbs onto the roof, admitting that, since he hasn't driven in 20 years, he'd probably be worse. He arrogantly adds that he's better at fighting anyway, just as a monster swarm appears. Leaping into action, he hurls his rope spear towards a large monster at the front. The spear finds its mark. Chanseok's attack lands with devastating force, obliterating the monster's head. he spots more monsters scaling a cliff wall and yells a warning to Sanga. Sanga grits her teeth, telling him to leave it to her. A bead of sweat rolls down Chanseok's face as he realizes what she's about to do. She veers sharply, plowing the van away from the wall-crawling ghouls. She lets out a maniacal laugh, screaming that this road is all hers. Chanseok is left speechless, thinking maybe he should have been the one driving after all. Thanks to Sanga's unconventional driving, they made good time. Soon, the van approaches a wooden path winding up a hill. The horde of monsters is still hot on their tail, undeterred by the chaos. Chanseok spots their destination up ahead, the Gaijin Temple. He tells Sanga to head straight in. Sanga asks what to do about the army of creatures still chasing them. He tells her he'll handle them and leaps from the speeding vehicle, while she floors it towards the temple gate. As he jumps, Chanseok's arm erupts with the dark energy of his paradox flame. Landing amidst the pursuers, he readies a massive attack. He vows that since they're so insistent on chasing, he'll block their path for good. He unleashes a massive explosion of purple and black flames, engulfing the entire road. With the horde now dealt with, he turns his attention to the temple. The flames crackle and fade as he steps onto the sacred grounds. Inside, he finds the captured fishermen, bound and terrified. Sanga approaches, introducing herself as a hunter from the association. But the fishermen, broken by their ordeal, can only react with pure panic, and Sanga tries to reassure them. Their terror escalates into frantic screams as their eyes fix on something behind her. Confused, Sanga feels an overwhelming presence. A colossal, armored samurai monster looms over her, its blade raised. Before the sword can fall, Chanseok intercepts the massive weapon with his spear. He orders Sanga to get the hostages into the van immediately. He declares that he'll be taking on this one himself. The samurai does a very fast multiple slashes at Chanseok, which our protagonist nullifies it. Without giving a break, the samurai raises its sword high for a vertical downward swing. But before it can swing, Sanga hits the samurai with her van. She shouts for him to die. The samurai's head shoves into the wall, shattering its ornate helmet. The giant topples, its reign of terror cut short. Chanseok stands over the fallen monster. Mission accomplished. With the immediate threat gone, he turns to Sanga with a serious demand. She must promise to never drive again, even holding out his pinky for a swear. Back in the battered van, Sanga floors it, leaving the temple and its horrors behind. She asks Chanseok to watch the road ahead. Suddenly, the darkness is filled with dozens of glowing red eyes. A fresh horde of monsters emerges from the trees. Chanseok's eyes narrow. He notices something unsettling about the creatures in pursuit. Sanga glances back, her own shock evident as she realizes one of the monsters survived being run over. The ghouls swarm after them, their movements unnervingly fast and coordinated. Chanseok asks her to lend him her sword. Sanga's hand tightens on the hilt, her pride as a swordswoman wounded. He calmly reminds her that the lives of the hostages are more important than her honor. Reluctantly, she passes him the blade. He takes a firm two-handed grip on the katana. As he focuses his mana, the device on his wrist begins to glow with an intense blue light. He mutters that he didn't want to use this so soon. The scene shifts to a few days prior, inside the desolate Grade 3 erosion zone on Gyeodong-do. He stumbles upon an unexpected find amidst the rubble, a pair of high-tech gloves, humming with latent magical energy. He slips them on, feeling an immediate surge of power course through him. He realizes they're no ordinary gloves. They're a mana battery, storing energy from the very atmosphere. He understands their design is meant to amplify and support a user's mana flow. Considering its maximum capacity, he has about 5 minutes. He thinks during those 5 minutes he can even fight on equal footing with Lee Sien. Back in the present, he unleashes the stored energy, the gloves flaring to life. A web of glowing energy erupts from the sword, blanketing the entire road behind them. Sanga can only stare in disbelief from the driver's seat. The light fades, revealing nothing but dust. The entire horde has been obliterated in a single flash. His work done, Chanseok tells her to drive straight for the port without looking back. Sanga wastes no time, speeding towards the promise of safety. They soon arrive at Hatakatsu Port, the extraction point. But their relief is short-lived. The supposedly safe harbor is anything but. Another massive swarm of monsters converges on them, blocking their path to the Coast Guard. Sanga wonders if they should stop and fight, as the van is on its last legs. Chanseok, however, remains calm, ordering her to keep driving. As the monsters claw at the vehicle, the van passes through a blue barrier. The creatures shriek as they try to cross the barrier, forced to let go. One by one, they are thrown from the speeding vehicle. Then, abruptly, the entire horde comes to a halt, as if hitting an invisible wall. Sanga looks back, puzzled by their strange behavior. Her eyes land on a glowing golden sigil etched onto a nearby wall. It's a blessing circle technique, a powerful exorcism ritual. Chanseok casually explains that it's a simple spell used to ward off monsters. When she asks where he learned it, he cryptically replies it's a souvenir from the other world, a place she knows nothing about. As they step out of the van, Sangha questions if this spell can defeat any monster. He admits it would be nice if it were that simple, but it doesn't work on the real threats. As if on cue, the samurai emerges from the mist. The blessing circle has no effect on it. It growls about protecting its offering, its single red eye glowing with malice. A sudden cold sweat runs down Sangha's spine as she senses its power. Shanseok also feels the shift in the air. She realizes this monster possesses clairvoyance, the ability to predict attacks. A skill beyond ordinary comprehension. The knowledge shakes her. How can they fight something that knows their every move before they make it? But Shanseok just scoffs, telling her not to worry about such fancy techniques. He dismisses them as mere illusions. He declares that he'll show her how to deal with an opponent like this. The samurai flinches, does a quick draw, and swings it, showing it's ready for a fight. Sangha watches in shock as Shanseok calmly walks toward the monster. He explains that so-called mastery like clairvoyance is just a reflex born from experience. It's a subconscious reaction to hostility, something a true warrior can overcome. He lists other legendary techniques: sword mind, trance, return to origin, dismissing them all as nothing more than names. He plants his feet firmly on the dock, facing the monster head-on. He looks up at the towering figure, completely unimpressed. In a flash of light, the samurai is split in two before it can even react. The armored body crumbles into pieces around him. He tells Sangha that these flashy titles are a trap. They make people believe they've reached their peak, causing them to stop growing stronger. On the battlefield, such illusions are meaningless. He knows this because he's experienced it himself, having made countless sacrifices to escape that very trap. Turning back to Sangha, he adds one final scathing remark. He says that for a monster that survived her driving, relying on a gimmick like clairvoyance is just pathetic. His words and actions shatter her perception of strength. She understands now that her previous resolve was nothing but a half-hearted attempt. To achieve her goal, she needs to become truly strong, like him. With a new fire in her eyes, she walks up to him. She has a favor to ask. She asks him to teach her how to fight, for real this time.